Welcome to the Sacred Roots podcast, my beautiful listeners. I am so excited because today I have a beautiful guest with me, beautiful inside out. It's Kathi, and Kathi is going to talk to us about mindset because I talk to you guys a lot about spirituality and energy and ancient wisdom and divine feminine, but the divine feminine is very connected to her power, and our power has been taken away from us for centuries. And so it's so ingrained in us that we're not enough, that we can't do this, we have imposter syndrome, that we also need to work on our mindset to truly embrace this infinite being and divine feminine energy that we are. So Katie is going to support us with that today. Katie, why don't you introduce yourself in your words?
Yay. Well, thanks so much for having me here, Eleanor. I'm so excited to be on this podcast with you. And I'm so excited that we met at BBD Live. That was incredible. I'm so happy. It's crazy how it just brought us together like that. But anyways, yeah, I'm Kathi Reuter, and I am the host of the Do Life Big podcast. And I'm also a mindset coach. And I primarily work with online entrepreneurs and teach them how to build the six figures and beyond quickly, and also help entrepreneurs who are at an income plateau. I teach them how to reprogram the way that they think so that they can have the success that they want to build the six figures and beyond. And I'm also a mom of three. I have three little kids at home, ages 11, 10, and 4.5. So very busy doing both things, entrepreneur and being a mom. And I love it.
Exactly. Like we were saying just before, we don't have to choose. We get to do both.
I know, so lucky. And for the longest time, I thought that you did have to choose. So this has been
No.
quite the ride.
Yeah. So I know because you shared a little bit of your journey with me when we were around the fire at BBD Live
Yeah.
that you pivoted your business at some point because you realized you were obsessed with mindset and helping people really get their mindset straight so that their life could change.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your journey, how working on your mindsets changed things for you, and how you got into that.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. So I actually went to school to become a teacher, and I was an elementary school teacher, had my master's degree in special education, and I taught for 10 years before having kids. And then I dove into becoming an online entrepreneur. I knew nothing about business, but I didn't want to have to go back to work and put the kids in daycare. So this was my first experience, was about 11 years ago, where someone was like, you don't have to choose, you can do both. You can be at home with your kids and you can build a business and earn some income. And so I said, great. So I initially started out, my first business was a health and fitness business. And I've always loved exercise. It's like a form of therapy for me. So I dove into that business, and I built that business when the kids were taking their naps or when they'd go to bed at night from like 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock at night. And I loved it so much. And it did so many amazing things for our family. I mean, above and beyond what I could have ever imagined. And at one point, this was probably like when I reached 8 years in of that business, I just started to kind of feel like, I don't know, this doesn't really feel like it's me anymore. It doesn't really feel like this is really what I want to do. And I was like being called to do something else, but on paper, it was like it wouldn't make any sense to anybody else, because on paper, everything was great, right? I was making a really significant amount of income. I was home with my kids. We were able to relocate to our dream home and, down in Florida. And I never had to miss the moments with the kids. I never had social media until I started that business. And so my whole entire social media was all revolved around health and wellness. And it's what everybody knew me for. And then all of a sudden I had this feeling like, I really want to do something with mindset, and I really want to help other people just really unlock their true potential and help them get out of their own way so that they can live the life that they want to live and really reach their truest potential. Because I had noticed a pattern over the last 10 years when I was in that business. I had helped thousands of health and fitness, influencers build their businesses. And it was always this one thing that was standing in the way of them having success, because they would be doing the work and they'd want the success. And it wasn't like they weren't showing up. They were, but they weren't getting the results that they wanted in their business. And it always boiled down to, the fact that they had a limiting belief holding them back. They had a fear
Mm.
of failure or a fear of rejection or who am I to set such lofty goals. And so I would work with all those individuals over time and help them break through those. And so I had this idea on the back of my mind for a good 2.5 years before I did anything. Um,
Mhm.
I kept kind of shoving the idea down. And every time it would pop up, I'd just be like, Kathi, don't do that. That's ridiculous. Like, you're so good at what you do. Like, why would you do that? Like, you're so good at what you're doing. Like, what you're doing is working now. Why would
Yeah.
you change? Like. And so for 2.5 years, yeah, I pushed that down until finally, I was like, I really need to just do this because it's what's on my
Mhm.
heart. And I really believe in that, like listening to like that intuition and that gut feeling. And if you feel something, you should just act on it like that because you wouldn't be,
Yep.
given that idea or this vision if it really weren't meant for
Yep.
you to take on. And so
Absolutely.
finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to launch my podcast. I'm going to create this course and I'm going to, not only be able to help people build their businesses quickly, but I'm going to also be able to help them reframe the way that they're thinking because I had gone through a huge, probably like a 2.5 year period where I had let a limiting belief get to me and hold me back. And it was
Absolutely.
this, yeah, it was this, I kept making failure mean that I was the failure, that I wasn't
Mm.
really meant to go as far as I wanted to go with that health and fitness business. Instead of looking at it from like a neutral lens and saying, okay, this is here to teach me something. This is normal. Every entrepreneur goes through this. I had a really negative story in my mind of just be grateful for what you've done. This is done above and beyond. So what? You're not going to go as far as you wanted to go. Maybe it's just not meant for you, that kind of thing. You
Yeah.
failed. That means that you're the failure. It is what it is. So I had to work through that for a long time. And then finally, 2 years ago was when I was like, I'm doing it, doing the podcast and creating the course and going on my way. And now I feel a lot more in alignment because I was just going through the motions. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have any passion in it anymore. It was just so routine and just, yeah.
You're, I feel like you're speaking to my ideal client. That's exactly the people that I love to help
Oh,
with.
really? Well, they're
When
going to
there's
get a
like
kick out of this one.
this success, this routine, this thing, and they're like, I feel there's more, but I don't know what it is. And I'm afraid this
Exactly.
is what I'm most passionate to help people with.
And it's true. And it wasn't like I was looking like I've never been about like, oh, I want to do this because I want to be rich and make a lot of money. I'm more about this doesn't feel like right to me. Like it doesn't
Mm.
feel like I'm really like living my purpose and doing what I want to do. Otherwise I wouldn't have had this idea, on my heart. And so
Yeah.
and it also can be really intimidating and scary to now all of a sudden go from being this really experienced person with all these
Totally.
expertise, and then be like, now you're going to be a beginner again and you're going to be back at the
Yeah.
bottom, clawing your way up.
Totally. Totally. And it's like, why would you let go of something that's working really well to
Right.
try this thing that you have no idea if it's going to work out?
Exactly. And that's exactly it. And people thought I was nuts. They're like, "Why would you ever do this? Like, this doesn't even make any sense." I'm like, "Because it's not bringing me the joy that it once brought me."
Mm.
And I always like tell people, I will be forever grateful to that business. It served its purpose for the time being. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. However, I also look at it as, a stepping stone into new opportunities. And I've grown
Mm.
so much since starting that first business because, I was someone who, for example, never did personal development at all. I never read any kind of self-help books or listened to any kind of podcast. I would make fun of people for doing that. But
And
I'm like,
here you
why
are
would
now
you?
obsessed by it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, but we're already good people. Like, why do we want to become better, dear? But and then I was like, when I started that first business, I'm like, okay, listen, if you want to be able to help people get results, then you have to work on yourself too. And so now it's
Mhm.
obviously like an everyday thing.
I love that. So because I have so many women in my audience that are basically like you 2 years ago in this transition, being
Yeah.
spiritual, having a business, but not being fulfilled, not being sure of their direction and their purpose. What are the mindset shifts that you had to do in order to be like, okay, I'm letting go of this thing that's working, but that is not fulfilling me, so that I can truly follow my soul's calling? What were like the biggest breakthroughs that allowed you to move forward?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was, especially because you're talking to somebody who was like a recovering like people pleaser, perfectionist, you got to have it
Mm.
all together all the time kind of thing. So the biggest thing that I had to overcome and get over was being seen as a newbie and a beginner again. Being seen,
Oh.
that was the biggest thing for me. After being in this place of so much success and, in the spotlight for this and being so great at this, I had to be really okay with, well, this is what's on your heart and this is what you're really meant to do right now. So you have to be okay starting over. You have to be okay being seen like small as a newbie, as a beginner. And I just had to keep reminding myself that, just like when I started that first business and I was a newbie and I was a beginner, I shared so much of it and brought people along the journey with me. And so it made me so much more relatable. It's kind of like if you're on a health and fitness journey, right? No one wants to see all of a sudden the before and after picture of how you lost 50 pounds and got all this energy. They want to see, well, what was the process like? What did it look like? So it
Yeah.
was just that constant reminder to myself of it is okay. you know, it is okay to be seen. That was one of my things that I had to uncover because
Yeah.
I kind of was afraid to be seen, being seen making mistakes, being seen small, being seen as flawed or not really know, different things like that. That was the
Yeah.
biggest thing for me.
And it's interesting. I love that. It's really powerful. Thank you for sharing,
Oh
because
yeah, you're
we
welcome.
tell ourselves, oh, it's a new like niche or a new industry. So it means I'm a newbie because I am starting there.
Right.
Because the truth is that you weren't really a newbie. You had
No.
already helped people. You had already worked on your mindset. You had been studying mindset for years and helping people
Yes.
with it. So you were not at all a newbie. You were just starting to put it out there. But we
That's
tell
so
ourselves,
true.
oh, this is new. So I am a newbie. Whereas, oh, you're actually filled with wisdom and expertise already.
It's so true. I know. And I didn't look at it that way at first. I was like, I think that's why I was so hesitant and
Yeah.
waited 2.5 years, because I was like, when I go in, I want to go all in. That's just how I am. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to half-ass it. I want to go all in. And I definitely like, that's exactly what it was that was holding me back but it's so true what you said, how, yeah, I had already had all this experience of working with, thousands of other coaches and clients in this area and all the knowledge that I've obtained and the failures I had to work through myself. And so, yeah, just being seen in a new little area
Hmm.
was what it was. I had to get
I
over.
love this. It's such a beautiful example of like how the mind works and
Oh
how
yeah.
the mind sometimes tricks us. And of course, that's your field of expertise. So you know everything about that.
Which is why I kept
I
fighting it because I'm
always,
like, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
sorry, go
you
ahead.
were right to fight it, because like don't believe everything you think. We think
Yep.
things about ourselves that are like not true. So I
It's so
always tell
true.
my clients like, okay, you think that, is it true? Like, can you find proof of the opposite?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
for people that are like trying to work on their mindsets, what are some of the mistakes that you see them do? Like, for example, actually believing what they are thinking.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the whole thing, So there's a couple different things that I see like happen routinely. For one, like when I'm working with entrepreneurs who want to grow their income and they want to grow their income like quicker, or they want to reach that six figures and beyond mark. They think that if they just work on their mindset by, for example, immersing themselves in more personal development or reading more books, that they're then going to get the results that they want. And that's not going to get you
Mm,
the results that you want. And I'm not saying that personal development isn't good. You should definitely do it. However, if you're not applying anything that you're learning or taking action, after you absorb something every single time, then you're really not growing. You're just sitting there as a sponge. So that's one of
yeah.
the ways that they make mistakes. Um, and then also too, sometimes it's hard to recognize that you have these limiting beliefs because you've believed them and they've been there for a long, long, long time. And
Mhm.
sometimes people think, well, I just am who I am. Like this is one of the mistakes I see. Oh, I just am who I am. This is just how I am, and it's just how I'm going to be. And that's not true either. You can change the way that you think. And if you change the way that you think, then you can change your entire life.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I see people, getting kind of, stuck.
Limiting themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So they're not applying what they're learning and they're
yeah,
like, this is who I am. I can't change.
exactly. Exactly. Yep.
And what are some of the most powerful tools that you use then to identify beliefs that people might have and then shift them?
Oh yeah. See, so this is like what I do a lot in my course too. We teach you how to like we call it catch your limiting belief. So be able to become aware of it and catch it on the spot, and then silence it, and then replace it with a more powerful, like empowering, positive thought or belief system, right? So a lot of times when you're just talking to someone and you're talking to them about, what do your goals look like for this year? What would you like to see, you accomplish in your business? And what they tell you what it is, and then you say, okay, well, why is it that you think that that hasn't happened yet? Usually whatever they say next is their limiting belief that's been holding them back. I just haven't been able to do it.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So usually, like, just by even just having that little conversation, if people just ask themselves, like, what story have you been telling yourself about why this hasn't
yeah.
happened yet? Is it because you keep telling yourself that, you don't have enough time, or you're too busy, or there's all these different stories that we make up kind of as like a coping mechanism to just basically just put our dreams on the back burner, um,
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's definitely one of the ways that you can do it. But if you can become like aware to it, and catch yourself in that moment and hear that you're saying, haven't been able to do that yet because you know what? I just think I'm too old and I don't really know what I'm doing. Who am I to do this? Then you can stop yourself and be like, okay, let's reframe this. Like, let's get out a pen and paper. Let's write down that initial, limiting thought that you've been thinking and telling yourself, because it's in your subconscious. It's going through your mind pretty
Yeah.
much 24/7 all day and everything that you do. But if you can acknowledge it like that and then write it down and then be like, all right, now what can we replace this thought with? So that way, the next time I think it, I can stop myself and replace that thought with a more empowering one that's going to make me feel better. Because for as long as you have those limiting beliefs in there holding you back of I'm too old, I'm too tired, I don't have enough time, I'm just too busy, like who am I to have these big goals? Am I worthy of this? You continue to stay stuck exactly where you are in that moment. So we've got
I
to
love
flip
that.
that. We got to flip that, because if you think like that, you know, your thoughts are just going to create you to feel a certain way. And so if you're thinking that way and telling yourself the story of, I just don't think I'm cut out for this, I don't really have what it takes, that's going to cause you to feel like complete crap. And then the
Mhm.
feelings are going to either encourage you or inspire you to want to take action or not. And if you're feeling not too good about the way that you're thinking, then you're not really going to want to take the action. You're going to be taking no action or very inconsistent action. And then that's going to lead to not getting the results that you want. And then the cycle just keeps going on and on and on. And it just keeps solidifying that belief that you have. So we need to break that pattern to put a more positive thought in place, because your thoughts are everything. Your thoughts are what dictate the results that you get in your life. Everything around you boils down to the thoughts that you have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Our thoughts are our frequency, and we emit that frequency into the world, and then it's sent back to us. And
Oh,
lots of
yes.
life is just trying to show us who we are and how we are limiting ourselves. I
It's
love
so
that.
true.
So, looking for this story that we're telling ourselves why it's not going to work or why we can't do it. This
I know,
is
it's so true.
this is bringing up a story that I've been telling myself lately.
Oh, oh my gosh, what story have you been telling
I'm like,
yourself?
oh, that's a good one. Well, I want to do another launch of my mystery school, as you know, and I've been
Yeah.
telling myself, well, I'm going to give birth in the month of May. Can I really launch a program before giving birth? And then I'm like, this is a very old story that we've been telling women that they have to choose between being mothers or being entrepreneurs. And just like we were saying before, no, we get to do both. We get to support the emerging paradigm and the world that is changing and support our families as mothers. We don't have to
100%.
choose.
And at least you're
And
aware of that,
so
because, it's true. You can
I'm
do both.
aware of it, but it's in the back of my head, sometimes holding me back. And so I'm like, how I'm trying to shift it. Like, how can I actually make sure that, yes, I will be tired, I will have a newborn, but still have the energy to serve my clients because I want to give them my best self, obviously, if they sign up working for me.
Exactly,
Um,
100%.
what would be your advice?
So, I mean, I always kind of play the card of, am I the first person in the world to launch a course, and give birth around the same time? No. Like anytime when I think that things are getting really hard for me, or it seems like, you get that resistance, to me, that's like a sign that you've got to do it. And when you have that feeling like that, it's almost like, there's somebody else out there who's got way more going on, who's in a worse situation. This is what I tell myself, that's in a worse situation. They're busier. They have more kids. Maybe they don't have as much support at home as I do. And they are still doing it and still having success. And so it's basically just drawing the line in the sand. And I don't allow myself to overthink anything or overanalyze anything. Like that's the thing that kills people. I feel like you get in your own head, and then you're in your hood. Next thing you know, you're saying, but I'm going to be tired. And then I'm not going to begin sleeping that much. And then my energy is going to be off. But doing the launches and things like that and working with your clients is going to give you energy, because it's going to be like a breath of fresh
Exactly.
air, because you're doing what you're meant to be doing and what you love. And so you just have to keep telling yourself that same story over and over again.
As
Um,
I said it, I was like, well, no, this is actually going to nourish me
yes,
because I
exactly.
love what
And
I
that's the
do.
thing. And that's why I like too, like I always tell people, because all these thoughts and all these stories that we have, they're all in our head. And it's so awful to keep them there, because nothing can be done with them up there. So
Yeah.
another good tip too is to literally just write it out. Like I always talk about writing everything out, because a lot of times when you write it out, that story that you're telling yourself, and then you reread it to
Mm.
yourself, you're like, this actually is ridiculous. Like,
Mhm.
of course I can do this. Like, okay. And then you get it out and you've come up with a solution on your own. And now it's out of your brain, because there's just so
Yeah.
much going on in your brain. The last thing you want to do is keep all these, limiting stories in your mind on top of it. Then you'll get overwhelmed and stressed out. And then that's just going to exhaust you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a simple tool. Like journaling is really what I began with. It's the first
Yeah.
tool that I used on my spiritual journey when I divorced and I moved countries and I quit my banking job and I decided to go after energy healing and everything that I'm doing now. I was journaling every single day because I mean
Yeah.
I had a lot to process
Well, yeah, that's
from
great though
that
that you did that.
divorce and moving and
Yeah.
everything. But it was so powerful because just like you say, sometimes seeing things black on white, we're like already we feel better because the emotion went from our heart to our hand and we've let go of it. But we're also
Yes.
like, how can I tell myself this? How can
I
I
know.
believe this about myself? Like, this is not true. And so often when I felt that there was a lot of emotional charge there and that I really wanted to let go of it, I would also burn it.
Oh,
So I've
yeah.
burned a lot of pieces of paper in the past years.
Oh my gosh, I used to do that when I used to host retreats for my health and fitness
Mm,
business. We would do that. And I loved it. It was so powerful, because we would write down all the
yeah,
things that we thought were holding us back, all those limiting beliefs. And, because you just realize at the end of the day, I mean, the only thing really standing in your own way is yourself, right? And so you just got to know how to get the hell out of your
yeah,
own way. And we would just burn them in the fire. And it was
absolutely.
so freeing to be like, there it goes. Okay, that's gone now. We acknowledged it.
Yeah,
Bye.
we can move forward.
Yes, we're moving forward.
I love that.
Yes.
So I know you have a freebie with some of the most present limiting beliefs that actually prevent online entrepreneurs from like
Oh, yes.
scaling and getting over their
Yes.
plateau, their glass ceiling. Tell us
Oh, yeah.
about some of these. What are the limiting beliefs that we might recognize ourselves in, and how do you rephrase them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have in the, if you go to kathireuter.com/think this, not that, and I can send it to you so you can put it in your show notes.
Yes,
So,
please.
yeah, I have about 19 of the most common limiting beliefs that I've heard personally from the people that I've worked with, and then how you can reframe that and rephrase that and turn it into a more positive one. But for example, some people are afraid to set such big goals, right, for themselves. So a lot of times I hear people say, you know, I need to just be grateful for what I have. Just be grateful for what I
Mm,
have. And it prevents them from really playing full out and really going after what they want, because they feel like if they're trying to become better or earn more, that means that they're not grateful. And so you can just reframe that around and say, even though I'm growing and becoming a better person, I'm still grateful. I can be both at the same time. Like they try to say that it can only be one or the other. Like if I'm trying to do this, then I can't be grateful. So just be grateful. So that's one of them. Another one is people think that they're not worthy and deserving of the success that they want. Like
Mhm.
who am I to set such big goals? Who am I to do that? I've never succeeded at anything in my life. I've failed at everything I've ever tried. It's never worked out. And so just reframing that to, I'm worthy and deserving of this business and this life that I want to live right here, right now, in this moment. And it's just that simple thing of just when you catch yourself saying, this is stupid. I don't really think I'm worthy of this. I really don't. This is too big. This is too big. Of just stopping yourself and then saying that phrase over and over again, the new one over and over again. That's how you reprogram really the way that you think. And like I said,
For sure.
it's even better if you can write it out, because then it's, like I said, it's
Mhm.
getting it out of your head and it's writing it down. And if you can also identify like what was happening in that moment, what happened right before that made you think that thought to begin with, writing that down is also another tip that can help people. Did you want me to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I love these, and I there's a little like light bulb that's going in the back of my head because I can see how much of these beliefs are very connected to feminine wounds. I have my own like sacred feminine spirituality approach to these
Oh yeah.
topics, and they're very ancient wounds. They're like transgenerational, they're karmic, and so we all have to work through these. So I know this
We
is going to
do.
resonate a lot with my audience. So I love it. Like,
Oh yeah.
especially the I should be grateful for what I have. So I'm just
Right.
going to like stay in it. It's like, well, no, you don't have to choose. It's like being a mother or being an entrepreneur. You can have both. Like, you can be grateful and still
Yes,
go after your dreams. You can think big. You can like try and
exactly.
go after that big thing.
And
So
that
I
was one of the
I love
that
it.
was one of the limiting beliefs that kept me stuck for a long time, was that one of just be grateful. Like I even had family members, like, which is hard when
Mm.
that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Jesus, like Jesus. It, like that was hard when like you have family members from the outside looking in being like, Kathi, can't you just be grateful like for what you already have? And it's like, but I am grateful for what I have. It's not that I'm not grateful. It's just I don't feel fulfilled anymore. Like I'm chasing
Mhm.
the fulfillment and going after what my purpose is right now is what I'm really going after, that feeling. I never had this feeling before to change directions. For 8 years, I didn't have that feeling. Now I have that feeling. So I feel like that's God's way of telling me, okay, you have grown so much. You are ready to take on this next adventure. And you owe it to your future self to just do the damn thing, right?
Totally.
So it's hard like
Totally.
that when you have people in their family being like, you gotta just be grateful. It's like, I am.
Thank you. I
Oh, God.
am. And
I am.
also, we are infinite beings. We're
Yeah.
here to evolve and to expand. And
Yes.
you're probably going to go through that again. Except
Oh,
that next
exactly.
time you'll be like, oh, I know what this means. My soul just
Oh,
wants me to expand and do something else. And it's okay. I've done this already.
exactly. It's so true. And like that was, when you brought up the whole growth thing, that's another thing that was getting me. Like, and I'm not talking about like income growth, but like personal growth. I felt like I was so stagnant for so long in that other business. Like
Mm.
I wasn't growing, and I hate that feeling. Like it makes me get so much anxiety, like, uh-oh. And that
Mm.
was another hint that I knew, because it was just so routine and it was just so mundane and it was so much more of like a chore, and it went from being like, this brings me so much joy and so much fulfillment and so much energy and I want to work on this all the time, to, oh my God, like I have to do this right now. Like I really don't want to do this right now.
Mm.
This feels like more of a hassle than anything. So that was another
Yeah,
little red flag for me to
absolutely.
for me
Absolutely.
for me to
If
listen
you're
to that.
not excited by something and you're not nourished by doing it, it's because your soul is not in it.
I know. And then the thing that stinks is that people don't realize is sometimes people think, you know, well, it's the amount of money that I'm earning that's going to, lead me to be more successful. But that's not it. People are drawn to your energy
Mhm.
and they're drawn to your
Mhm.
excitement and your enthusiasm. And so if you're like stuck in this business like I was for 2.5 years, just kind of going through the motions on autopilot with not much energy and no excitement, well, guess what? Your business isn't going to grow. It didn't matter how much money I was earning. I was earning a lot of money. It didn't matter. People weren't being drawn to that. So
Yeah,
those are good
and
things
you
to keep
can
in
also
mind.
get burnt out in the end because you're also
Oh,
not into it.
exactly. That's exactly how it ended for me. Burnout.
Oh, oh no. Well, I'm
I
happy you're
know.
on the other side of that. We should have met 2 years ago. I could have prevented that for you.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, it's like, where were you then, Eleanor?
I
I
was
wasn't making
writing my
music
book,
then.
The Path of
Yeah,
Femininity.
I know. Oh my gosh, so amazing. You're so incredible. I'll share one more
Thank you.
limiting belief, though.
Yeah.
Another one that comes up a lot for people is they are constantly putting, their dreams and goals on the back burner because they just say, I'm just too busy right now. Like it's just not the right
Mhm.
time. I'm way too busy. And you can totally reframe that and say, even though I'm busy, I can do one small thing today to move me closer to my dream, or that's going to move the needle in my business. I feel like sometimes people get so caught up in looking at the big picture of like
Yeah.
where they want to go in the end, or they're on social media and they're looking at all these other people, right? And they're comparing their journey and their life to that. And I'm not saying that they're not busy. I'm sure that they are busy. I mean, we're all busy. However, you can make the time for it. And something is always better than nothing. And sometimes if you
Absolutely.
don't have that mentality, your business and your dreams are the very first thing to go on the back burner as soon as life gets in the way. And so I feel like
Mhm.
if you can just like start out putting it in your head that, life is going to get hard. Like tough times are going to come. There are going to be a lot of roadblocks. There's going to be a lot of hurdles. I am going to be busy. There's going to be rough patches, but I am not going to stop my going after what I want in life. I'm not going to stop going towards, that dream that I have and building my business. I'm going to focus on what did I do today to move the needle forward. One small thing is better than nothing. So
Yeah, it's the
that really helps.
1% rule.
Yes, exactly. I used to
1%
say
to
the
action.
no zero days. Yeah. Like just do
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing. It's not the big massive thing. It's just the one small thing. And then
It
be proud of
compounds.
that. And because it compounds, and you know what? There's
It
gonna be
adds up.
seasons in your life where you can do more. And that's great. But then there's also going to be seasons in your life, and I lived it, I'm sure you lived it, where it's like, okay, this is a really tough time right now. I built my business through having, 3 children, moving, people in my family dying, having cancer, all these things. And there were seasons where it was like, this is all I can do right now. But
Mhm.
I had the long-term vision and I knew that it was a marathon and not a sprint, and that
Mhm.
I'm just going to do what I can and be okay with it.
Totally. I love that you said that. It's such a
Yes.
beautiful reminder, especially for us women, because we are so cyclical and we need to honor the seasons of life and
Yes.
the season that we're in and the seasons of motherhood, and then the children grow, and it's not a sprint.
It's so
I have
true.
one last question for you
Oh yeah, go ahead.
because I love to bring the energy of possibilities to my audience and to inspire them with, well, if you do this, this is what it could actually become possible
Oh
for you.
yeah. Yep.
Because I know that your work is deeply, deeply life changing.
Oh yeah.
But can you share, please, with the audience some of the greatest success stories or craziest stories that happened when you started working with certain clients and things totally shifted for them?
Oh yeah. I've had several clients, for example, who were building side businesses while they were working like their corporate jobs. And you know how they get you there with the golden handcuffs, right? With
Mm.
they have the golden handcuffs on, and they were getting great promotions and great bonuses, and it was a stable job, but they were absolutely miserable and they were completely unfulfilled. But they were running their business on the side and they really wanted to build their business full time. Like that was what brought them joy. And they knew that they could turn this business into a 6-figure and beyond business if they went all in on it. But like I said, because of
Mhm.
the golden handcuffs and the time invested into this corporate job, they waited a long time to do it. And we worked through that. And several of them ended up quitting their corporate jobs, starting their flower studio, opening up their coaching business, starting helping people with their health and fitness, all different things. and they are so much more fulfilled now. They're earning the income that they need. They're so much more in alignment with their life. They're doing exactly what they love. And honestly, like that's what's most important to me. Like I said, it's never been about like, of course it's great. We all need money, obviously, but the money means nothing if you're not happy
Yeah.
and truly love what you're doing. So it's been really awesome to see the shifts from those clients that I've had, be able to make that shift from just taking that leap, and like going all in and just trusting themselves and, believing in themselves and believing in their vision that it can turn into this full-time income for them. So that those are my biggest ones.
I love that.
Yeah, I know.
So
I
you're
love it.
helping people build their dreams.
Exactly. Like that's what I tell my husband all the time. I'm like, this is my purpose. I'm like, my purpose is
I'm a
to
dream
help
maker.
people. Yes, I'm like, my purpose is to literally help people like live out their dreams and really go after what it is that they want in life. So at the end of the day, they don't look back with regrets. Like I am so big on regrets. I
Mm,
live every single moment of every single thing I do. I always think, okay, I know it sounds kind of morbid, but I'm like, when I'm on my deathbed, like, am I going to look back? Literally, I'm like, when I'm on my deathbed, am I going to look back and be like, Kathi, why did you not do that thing? Why did you not say that thing to that person? Why did you not? So I really try to live all the moments like that. And I want to help other people do that same too, because it's nothing worse than looking back and having regrets,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Beautiful words. So
I
for
know.
anyone that wants to work with you, we're going to put your workbook in the show notes of this episode, but
Yep.
where can they connect with you? We'll put your Instagram handle. Can you share it here as
Yep.
well so people can check you out right now?
Yep. My Instagram handle is Katherine Reuter. So it's KATHERINE So you can find me over there. And then you'll also have that link to the free workbook to help reframe the way that you think. And then if you wanted to find out
And you
more
have a
about
podcast.
yes, and I have my podcast too, Do Life Big. It's on all platforms. You can go to dolifebigpodcast.com. And then my program is not open for enrollment yet, but will be at the end of February, beginning of March. So if you want to hear more about that, just kind of learn more what it's about, you can go to kathireutertraining.com and read more about it, put your name on the wait list, and then we can go from there.
Beautiful. Well, this podcast episode is coming out mid-February, so it's perfect timing to
Oh,
work with you
once
in March.
again, Eleanor,
Divine timing.
divine timing, like you say. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on. This has
I
been so
love
much
it.
fun.
Well, thank you for blessing us with your vivacious energy. Can we say that in English? Does it sound nice?
Yes, you said it right, vivacious.
Sometimes I say things and my husband's like, you can't really say that, but we see what you're trying to say. I'm like,
I'm
okay,
definitely
whatever.
vivacious. I'm very loud. You can hear me coming a mile down the road with my laugh. It's like, here she comes.
Oh, I love that. I'm like that too.
I love that. Well, that's why we like each other
To
so much.
laughing out loud and
Yes,
exactly, and just being fulfilled with our lives and going
so
after our
true.
dreams. Thank
Living
you
every
so
moment.
much for being here.
Oh,
It
thank you
was
so
such a
much,
pleasure.
Eleanor. Oh, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Bye.